We're gonna present, oh my goodness, the Russell Moccasins. She wants to play with her. Mary, nobody's calling you, nobody's calling. Okay, this is about Russell Moccasin. Antonio Galvan had some questions, about 4 questions, but it gives me a chance to talk about sizing for the Russell, at least what it is for me. These are my Russell, the bird shooters that I got. And when I first got them, I loved them. Then they started hurting right here on the edge because I was afraid that they were too narrow. And they kind of were, so they started hurting my toe. And then I guess they loosened up a little bit, and I love them, and I'll tell you why. And then so I'm kind of like, I'll talk more about this. These are Russell moccasins that I got from, I think it's called Woodcock, something like his website. I know they're endorsed by Russell, and they sell like secondhand shoes. And I got these for like $200. And these are snake boots. And I can't even imagine the leather that are going into these. These are incredible. And these are specifically made, I think, for somebody who specifically got their size, which is my perfect size. And I think you can even tell, even though it's thicker, these are wide. So these are the questions that Antonio Galvan asked. So what size do I wear? So I'm gonna tell you my size so that you can kind of compare it to your size and what I like, so you can compare it to what you like, and then you can it'll hopefully help you size. Now, I will say, before I forget, Russell does, to my understanding, has this thing where you can measure digitally on your phone, and I would also look at that too. So comparing everything together and what people say, and then to hopefully size your shoe. Because I know we're anxious to get the size, and the worst thing is you wait that long, you got the wrong size, and then you're just like, oh my God, I gotta start the process all over again. So what size do I normally wear? On the Brannick, on the length, I'm 27, I measured it, I'm 27 centimeters. My left is perfectly 27, my right is slightly smaller, so we're gonna go with my left. So it's 27. So for US, that's 9.5 to 10, really I think it's a 9.5, like right at 9.5. EU is 43 to 40, EU. So these are Birkenstocks, which I love. These are, they kind of rubbed off. I think I have it more clear on this one. This is a 41 on Birkenstocks. So if you wear a Birkenstocks, so that's even, Birkenstocks slightly smaller, I think. And in the UK, it's 8.5 or to 9, 8.5 to 9. So it's 27 centimeters. And I have my camera woman, my wife, she's holding it. So you gotta help her. She's gonna hold the camera for a while. Now I did the width, and when you look at my feet, even though they're hideous, they don't look wide, and really they're not. So if I were to measure over here, it's like a 10 wide, that's what I would say. Now my feet don't kind of do this like other people's feet. You don't have to zoom in that much. They're idiots, but they actually kind of go like this. They're the shape of almost like a Birkenstock. They just kind of flat. The reason is because I am a dancer, and my feet, it used to be that my toes were like non-existent. They're just for decoration. But now, because of a dancer, I kind of stretched out my toes, and they get wider and wider. So 10, or if I splay them out, now we're looking at like close to a 13. Do you see the difference? That my feet behind Mortician, if you were gonna wear a sweater and you could only wear your sweater like this, and that's the size of the sweater, you'd be like, okay, I mean, maybe for pictures, but what if you wanted to open up your arms? And what if you wanted to move around? So you would have to get a size sweater that can actually get you mobile and moving, depending on what you want. So for me, I like to move around, not stay so snug on most cases, but some cases you do want a snug fit. Like if you were rock climbing, you wanted a snug fit. So if I were to go with the Brannick scale, it's a 9.5. I always get like a 9.5 on 27 centimeters. But the width, I measured it, and it's 10. Right here. Morticia, you're not helping. It's 10.5. Mine is a 10.5 width, right? If I splay my toes out, it's a 13. So if I were to go with a 10, that's an E. 10.5 is a double E. 11 centimeters is triple E. 11.5 is an F. So now you probably understand with my other videos why in Nick's boots, I'm a double F. I wanted to be able to move my toes out. and grip and move around to be comfortable, specifically in my mixed boots. I'm sorry for my little Morticia here. She's so playful. She's in her playful stage in her life. So 27 centimeters, and from 10 and a half to 13. That's a lot. That's a lot. You're gonna find that. So these are perfect. And these one time I saw it's a 9E. It says 9E, but I really think that they went wider. I would put them without socks. So I'm not at the very tip, but I can easily get there. With socks, I think I'm grazing. So with a 27 centimeter, this is a 9E. I'm like touching the edge right here. I'm touching the edge. And the width, I can open my toes. It's perfect. But like I said, I think these were custom made, and because they're snake boots, I think they're wider naturally. They might have used a different last for these special things. Now, if I were to put my Russell bird shooters, this is a size 9E, same size. If I put my widest and longest foot here, I am grazing the tip. I'm grazing, and some people don't like that. I'm going to tell you why I like that. Some people like a whole thumb space. I'm going to tell you why I don't like that, unless I'm wearing dress shoes that come to a point, because your toes don't go like this. I love it when it just barely touches. And I'll explain, try not to forget. But do you see how my toe is now starting to go to the outside here? It's starting to go out, and I can't, I'm trying to pull on that. I'm trying to widen my toes, and that's not good. That's not good. You can see how off it became. A little bit is because of the hand stitching. It kind of molded to one side. It kind of hurt my feet here. If the guy would have just made the last a little bit like that, it would have been a little bit more comfortable. You see how it's starting to stretch and not here. So you got that working against me, and it's a handmade shoe, so that's gonna differentiate depending on every single shoe, which is the beauty of a handmade shoe, and it's the bad thing of a handmade shoe. But the beauty is far outweighs the bad. So for me, in a tennis shoe, I'm usually a 9.5. In the Russell, I'm definitely a 9E because they don't go double E, but I think I would be a double E. I think I would be a double E, 27 centimeters length, and now you know what I like. But I do want to talk about a few things before somebody purchases a Russell on what I wish I would have known. So the second question that Antonio says is, how wide are my feet? I answered that. Would you recommend going a half size smaller? Then in this case, that's what Russell, I think that's what he said Russell recommends. So in this case, yes. If I'm 9.5 in a Brannick, I'm actually half size smaller, a 9. He was looking at the Vibram 2060, and it kind of looks like this. Only this is not a Vibram, this is a Jim Green, but the bottom is like more lines here. If you could look it online yourself, I don't think I have a shoe that has that. I would say, depending on how sticky or how grippy the bottom is, really the bottom sole, it's like saying, what tool would you prefer? Would you prefer a wrench? Would you prefer, Jesus, I suck at tools. It just depends on what you're looking for. And you can't say one tool is the best. What are you gonna use that tool for? And I say that because when I got the bird shooter, do you see the bottom of this bird shooter? It's very soft, which is great because softer is better than those lug shoes. I think I would try they have a Vibram Montana? I probably spelled that wrong, Vibram Montana. That's the dark one that you see people, a lot of grips that you can do it. It's kind of like this, but really black. It shows the heel. I wish I had like a picture of it, but that's what I would probably recommend for my next shoe. But this sole right here, it's really soft. If you're hunting, incredibly quiet. This shoe is incredibly quiet. That's the one thing, I didn't even go for that, but I kept noticing, I'm like, man, I could walk around the house, walk outside, and I can't hear a peep from these shoes. They would be perfect, like if I was a ninja here. Here's the negative on this. It's not that thick. It's not that thick. When I'm walking on concrete, I can feel the ridges of each one, and that doesn't feel comfortable. I can feel every single little bump, and I don't particularly like that. If you're gonna have this, it's great if you're on a soft sanded or soft wooded area. Maybe you're not trekking on rock. If you were trekking on rock, I could feel everything. That wouldn't be great. But if I was gonna go hunting in a soft floor, then these are perfect. Any other circumstance, I would not like it. Any other circumstance, I would not like it. Now, a little bit more versatile, I think, is this one. I don't know what the bottom of this one is called, but man, did they nail it on this one. I do like, it has some tread where it's not slippery, it can grip, but it's not totally, where if it's muddy, you can see that the dirt is not gonna just clump up, and now when you're going inside the house, you're bringing dirt in. This, I would bring some dirt in the house. And that's good. Now, the Vibram sole, I do understand why people would want that sole that Antonio says, because you're not trekking dirt in. It's more versatile, it's softer. Yes, it's probably heavier on the bottom of your foot, but you could wear it around the concrete. But, like I said in my last video, I would think it's kind of similar to this one, maybe a little bit more a little grip, maybe that's a good. I slipped and broke my butt on this one. I didn't break my butt. Johnny made a face, my wife, she's a camera. I didn't get hurt. I used my 10-year-old Kung Fu training, and I landed even on my back, but it was like a Home Alone. Was it Marv? No, it's, who fell like that? Not Marv, the other one. Harry. I fell like my headphones flew. I didn't even know. I slipped and fell. I was outside, and who puts tile as their driveway? I slipped on somebody's driveway, and it was just like, I was done. It kind of hurt my head a little bit here. That's one reason I probably would no longer go with that sole. And I picked this sole thinking that it was the best. Now having these kind of soles, I don't know how the one that Antonio wants is, but I would prefer more grippy. I would say this is more universal. My choice would always be leather bottoms, leather sole. Now, of course, that's super slippery, but that's because I had a mentality as a dancer, and I'm spinning and dancing everywhere. So obviously, any of these shoes would not really work for dancing. That's why I didn't really touch those outsoles. So for me, I prefer wide. I am so sorry about the other phone. So it'll hang up. But here's why I like that my toes touch the edge. I like that the toes touch the edge. When I put my shoes on, I'm gonna make some room, and nobody takes this into account. Most people want like a thumb width in the front. As a dancer, this is why I would say you don't want that much unless you're wearing dress shoes and it's for the look. And of course your shoe's gonna extend farther than your toes because it's dress shoes and they're pointy almond shaped or here. So I'm gonna walk right here. This is the way that it would be the most ideal to walk. Number one, you don't wanna walk in here unless, this is more for precision. Like if I was gonna throw a dart for $1 million I would do this for stability, like an arrow, and I would push this so I have more breaks. I would not throw an arrow like this. This is not, it doesn't. So if I were to shoot a ball, I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna throw the ball because I want more precision. That's why you see a lot of people that do sports, they'll walk like this a lot too, because they're usually very active and they're doing a lot of coordinating. But if you're gonna walk normally during the day, and if you're now starting to look at what looks better for appearance and what's better so that you can start, it's just it's a different mentality. Usually when we walk, we kind of like lift our feet a lot because we're knowledgeable that we don't want to trip on anything. But now that you start wanting to look good as you walk, you don't want to lift your feet like you're wearing some slippers. What you would prefer as a dancer, I'm a dance instructor, so you want the foot to kind of graze the floor. You see? And then my body moves forward and I graze and I lift at the last minute and I step on the back outside corner. And that's where so you can see that if I have a thumb width in the front, I have to lift and adjust a little too much and it's not ideal for your body. So that's why if you're having a shoe that's wide and not almond shape, but bulb shape, or like the Birkenstocks that are wide and shaped like a foot, like an actual foot should, then you don't want a thumb's width in my opinion. Now another thing that you want to do when you try on a pair of shoes, I call this the try-on pose here, and this is what I tell my students. When you walk, watch how I bend my foot here. that looks like a normal foot. That looks like a normal foot. If I do it on the other one, do you see how that looks like a normal foot? Do you see how my toes are not comically large? Watch me do it without. Do you see how my toes bend? Now, I tell my students to get into that pose. Usually they'll go to the store and they're buying dance shoes. I say, get into that pose. And they get into that pose, and sometimes they'll get into the pose and they'll look like this. Do you see how ridiculous this looks? Like, I'm gonna bend here. So I would say, like, your toes aren't that long, you know? So the shoe starts to bend and it starts to look like, wait a minute, that's not the shape of your toes. So as long as you're doing a very, wide toe box, then in my opinion, I would recommend not having a thumbs width here. And I would not size up because you need wider. That's not so. To answer the question, and last thing, I'm gonna say one last thing, because it's about Russell. There are 3 main different types of Russell shoes. So this one's a double Vamp, because there's a Vamp, there's a single, double, and triple. This is a double, this is a triple Vamp, right? The single Vamp, it's always just one, and it looks just like this, but it's just one, there's no liner, there's no leather in the inside, just right here. Great for hot climates, it's very comfortable. If you're in a hot place, single Vamp is great. Double Vamp, it's kind of a universal in my opinion, it's great. The triple Vamp, I don't know. It is a lot of leather around your feet. If you're in a hot place, that might be too hot for your feet. It just doesn't feel as nice as having a single or a double. And what I've noticed, kind of like this, the triple Vamp, it starts to go flat depending on the leather. It starts to really go flat. It doesn't keep its structure. Now this one kept its structure on the double Vamp, I think. Number one, because the hide is for snake boots, so it's thicker. But here, there's a stitching here. There's a stitching on the outside, which I think the 2 options for Russell is the no stitch, which is great if you want your foot to rest right on the edge of that. Do you see how it's on the edge of this? Then you're not on a stitch and it doesn't hurt, it doesn't feel bad, it's perfect. If you go over, and if you're on any shoe and your weight is going over, that's not good, especially on the outside. As a dancer, I would say you're dancing wrong, you're walking wrong, you're more on the outside where you should be on the inside of your feet. Now on the stitching right here, imagine, this is not bad of a stitch, it's very small, so it doesn't hurt as much, especially with this thick, I think it's like a buffalo leather, you're not gonna feel those stitches. But you can see that if you had a single Vamp, and if you had stitching on the outside and you're walking on the stitching, that's gonna hurt. Even though if I had to just wear one shoe for one event, let's just say it's for $1 billion and I'm out there in the woods and I'm trying to survive for a month, I'm getting no stitch, no stitching. I want that shoe to be right at the edge of that, and that's how I'm just doing this for a month. I just need the shoes to survive then, and that's all. I can throw them away. I'm rich, I won after that contest, and I can buy as many shoes as I want. But if I want the shoe to last for forever, this is what I would say. I think it's a lot easier, correct me if I'm wrong, if it has a stitching on the outside right here. Because if it has the stitching on the outside, I think this is called a Blake stitch, if I'm not mistaken, and this is called just a Goodyear welt. Not welt, no, that can't be right. But it's the stitching on the outside. If it has a stitching on the outside, it's much easier. A lot more cobblers are going to be able to fix it and re-sole your shoe, put some new ones on, if it has that stitching on the outside. Now, if it has that stitching on the inside, this is a little tough, because then you would have to, you would have to kind of have somebody stitch from the inside, and not that many people do that, and I would be worried that they need to do that correctly. But if you don't have a stitching, it's much nicer. You don't need an excess room on the outside, kind of like, I don't have it. My gym greens, it's just too much sole on the outside. It has a stitching. Any millimeter can affect you. If you're a race car driver, it's all about millimeters. Your car, if it's a millimeter off, it'll do point something 1 second that you needed. If it's this, so every little thing counts. That's why I say have a shoe that's perfectly sized here. Don't size up, and don't do that thing where they say size up if it's too narrow. Have it perfect on the width that you want. I would say if it's a super bulbous shape and the shape of a foot, Don't have a thumb. This is my opinion. Have it where it's like you're just caressing it. When you stand up with your weight, you're just barely touching it. Not really. Now, if you're touching too much and you're pushing against it, it's gonna hurt you. So, long story short, for me, on the Brannock tail 9.5, I would get the 9. That was for me. For the width, there's unfortunately only 2 sizes unless you're gonna do some custom made. I don't think they do custom orders in the Russell moccasins just yet. So if you don't know if you're wide, right? Because in the Brannock tail, when I go to like Red Wing, they tell me I'm a D. They tell me I'm a D, even though I buy double F in Nicks, even though I buy triple E in Jim Green's. I wouldn't go off that. What I would do is try to move your feet. Try to be in an active pose, because some people can't even move their toes. They're so atrophied. Be in an active pose, then measure. Don't be pressed in, because that might be a little. And also, remember that some people have different, like my wife, she has an arch on her feet that can affect everything. So for me, half size down. Go with the wide if you think you're wide, so it should be more comfortable. Don't be afraid of that. Measure the width, not just the length. Hope this helps, Antonio. Thank you.